Okay, so we're gonna have another quick lesson on the trolley problem. Okay, now I'm gonna review this. I'm gonna assume you've already listened to the Soundall lecture, and that you've also read the Thompson reading on this, two readings. In the first one, she just summarizes this, so you've heard it in two different formats: the Sandall lecture and the Thompson article. So excuse me, it should be pretty familiar to you now. I'm just going to add a quick lesson after briefly reviewing it. Uh, so this is the original trolley case where the trolley is headed toward the 5. And if you pull the switch, the trolley will hit 1 instead. And most people think their reaction is that it's permissible to pull the switch so that it kills 1 rather than 5. Sorry. Yeah, so it kills 1 rather than 5, so you'll save 5 at the cost of 1. In this case, it's the organ stealing case in which um, uh, you can save 5 lives who have damaged organs by killing one person and taking his organs and uh, distributing his organs to the 5. Now, most people think this action is okay, but this action is wrong. In the Fat Man case, the trolley is headed toward 5. If you push the Fat Man, then the trolley will hit the man instead of the 5. And most people think pushing the Fat Man is also wrong. Okay. Now, what I want to urge you, because so picking up on where Sandel and Thompson left off, is suppose you agree with these intuitions, try to figure out what's the difference in these two cases. So some of you, I always have some students who disagree and they say, actually, in this case, it's wrong to pull the lever. If that's you, and you also think it's wrong in these two cases, wrong and wrong, then you don't have a puzzle. You're consistent. Other people think it's okay in all of these cases. The people who tend to say that are utilitarians or consequentialists. Okay, where they just deny what Sandel calls the categorical reasoning, and they only affirm the consequentialist or utilitarian reasoning. They say it's okay in all the cases. Um, all right, and you should always save the maximal number of people to maximize the amount of happiness in the world. Okay, um, now that's some people, but most people want to say that it's okay in these cases, but wrong in these two cases. So that's the puzzle for you to take away. What's the difference? And I'm gonna have an extra credit assignment where you're supposed to talk with a neighbor or a family member. I guess not in person, or a roommate. You might be, or you might have to talk on the phone, but have some sort of conversation of where you explore what the difference is between this case and these two cases. Okay, now, one other lesson I want us to take from this, these trolley problems are deep. There's so much to reflect on them. But here's one thing that I want students to take away from this. And I'll, uh, I'll erase this middle part. There's the original case, the Fat Man case, is the ways in which ethics is actually like science. Okay, science and ethics. Now, how is science supposed to be similar to ethics? When people talk about ethics, they make it sound like, oh, that's your values. Okay, well, I have my values, and so there's nowhere else to go. Um, now, now, I want to propose a new idea. In ethics, there's actually ways of testing theories. So suppose that I'm wondering, when does water boil? And I give a hypothesis. It boils at 98 degrees. Okay, and then I start heating up water at 98 degrees. It doesn't boil. What have I done? I falsified the hypothesis. All right, that's how science works. You make a hypothesis, you test it, and then see whether it's confirmed or disconfirmed. And that's what we do in science. I want to propose that ethics is also like that. We have a theory, save 5 at the cost of 1. It's a consequentialist theory, utilitarian theory. Always do what maximizes happiness or the number of happy lives. That's my hypothesis. And look how it's supported by this case. Save 5, okay? Um, Now, in science, what you do is you use physical experiments. You actually get the water and test it and see whether when it boils. Okay. In philosophy, we use thought experiments, not physical experiments. So we use thought experiments, and I say, hey, suppose you could kill one person, take their organs, and save 5 people's lives. Would that be okay? You go, no, it wouldn't. But you said we should save 5 at the cost of 1. That's right. That was my hypothesis. That's my theory, that you should always save 5 at the cost of 1. Looks like I just confirmed your theory. In the same way that you can confirm the theory that water boils at 98 degrees by testing it with water, you can test this theory that that you should save 5 at the cost of 1 by running it through thought experiments, like the Fat Man example, or the organ stealing case. In either case, you've disconfirmed the theory. All right, so that's a way in which actually science is very methodical. You set up really clear hypotheses and you test it. You test all the variables to make sure that it's a pristine environment. There's nothing else in the water that's going to. You're not putting salt in the water, which would actually decrease its boiling point. You want to make sure it's pure water. Similarly, in these cases, we're developing cases and we're trying to rule out certain variables. That's why the Fat Man case is actually better than the organ stealing case, which I erased, because in the Fat Man case, in the organ stealing case, you have somebody using a knife, and you just have a doctor who's probably taking the Hippocratic Oath, and you have them, like slicing up someone. Whereas the Fat Man case and the Trolley case are more similar. Anyway, either way, the point is, these are ways in which actually ethics should not be thought of as just, oh, this is what I believe. What do you believe? Ethics is something where you can actually make hypotheses and test them and consider them by thinking through thought experiments and thinking, oh, in that case, in the Fat Man case, it would be wrong. That means we shouldn't be a consequentialist. I've disconfirmed the theory. So that's something I want students to take away from this lesson. And then next lesson, we'll move into Thompson's on the Trolley case. Oh, something I want to emphasize is I like to give credit where credit is due. Philippa Foot is a philosopher, a British philosopher, and she wrote a paper in the mid to not late but later mid 1900s where she first proposed the original Trolley case and the organ stealing case, and then in that reading you read, the first one, Judith Jarvis Thompson thought of the Fat Man scenario. So Thompson's great because she thinks of these violinist cases and so forth. She also gives us the Fat Man. All right, see you in the next video.